Well, welcome back. This is Ray Higdon, and you are finishing up the Master Sponsoring Series. This is module number 4, Prospecting, Test Closing, one of my favorite topics, and the larger picture of building your empire. These are the things that I'm going to touch on tonight, and I'm excited. And first of all, like I do every one of these, I just want to say a great big thank you for seeing value in purchasing this product. I fully believe and just no, it's not really even a belief, but sponsoring is the most lucrative part of our business. It's rarely taught the right way. And this is something that if you learn every single thing else out there, if you learn all these other things, and there's about a million different things that you could be learning, if you learn all those things, but you don't learn how to close and how to sponsor, it may not matter. So this is something that is directly relative to your bottom line and how much money you are going to make. And this product, it will be one of the easiest and fastest ways for you to get a return on your money. And the cool thing is, you can watch this 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and the same information is going to pertain, because this is not a technology-based module. This is not a technology-based product. It is a human-based product, which has been roughly the same for the last umpteen thousand years. And so, again, big thank you. Now, first of all, let's review what we covered in module number 3. We talked about mirroring, matching, pacing, and leading. Very powerful. Now, this applies not just to network marketing, it applies to anything. If you want to simply build and like what Carnegie says, win friends and influence people, if you want to build rapport with people, if you want to be more popular with people, if you want to make connections that they just they don't necessarily understand why they like you, but they do, well, you want to practice that mirroring, matching, pacing, and leading that I covered in module number 3. Matching their rate of speech, watching their body language, paying attention to their communication style, whether they're talking auditory, visual, touch, etc. Very powerful. Just curious, did you create any plans for mass persuasion? Did you create a presentation? Did you look at an existing presentation that you have either been doing or that you have been considering doing, and did you plug in some ways to use some persuasion in there in mass? Very powerful once you understand that, because then you have the power not just to necessarily sponsor one rep or make one sale, but to make multiple sales for yourself and for your team. And so mass persuasion is a technique and a technology, a mental technology, that I highly encourage you go back and review if you didn't create any plans for that. I also talked about sponsoring, little leverage tricks, things that have taken, in one day gone from one sponsor to 9 sponsors. These are little tricks to create either a fear of loss or to create a sense of leverage that you can use doing the same thing exactly that you're doing right now, but just in a more leveraged way. So very powerful. I did touch on the basics of attraction marketing. To me, it would be crazy to have a sponsoring product out here in today's world and not even mention attraction marketing. I don't think that there is a sponsoring course out there that talks about attraction marketing, but I certainly covered that, explained the basics to you, why you may want to consider learning attraction marketing. And then I did that pretty cool little draw out of creating your vision and creating vacuums in your life so that you have bigger things that are sucked into your life, so you can create just simply a bigger life. So I want you, and this is always a reminder, not just to you, but also to me, when I'm in a educational faculty, or I'm reading a book or listening to an audio, you always want to think like this. Whatever you are studying, okay, there may be times where something pops up that you think to yourself, oh, I've heard that before. Oh, I know that already. Well, I want you to stop looking at what you know or what you think you know and start looking at your results. And so if you focus on your results in the area that you're studying, such as sponsoring, if you're not sponsoring 10 to 20 people a month, then there's probably a lot of applicable information that you can learn from this module in itself or any of the other modules that you've already been through. And so tonight, you are going to learn in module number 4, you're going to learn prospecting. And you notice I put in there, now that you are ready. You see, I've purchased every sponsoring course out there. And they're all great. I'm certainly not putting them down and bringing myself up. I just know most of them. In the very first module, they have you out there prospecting, and you don't know how to close, so you shouldn't be prospecting. Well, now that you're on module number 4, guess what? You are more armed at sponsoring than 98% of every other network marketer in this industry, period. You know more about human psychology than 98% of the people that are in this industry. You know more about what questions to ask to get the wants, needs, desires out of people so that you can get that out of them so you can get also their credit card out of them. And so you are now ready to prospect. You weren't ready before module number 1. Module number 1, you didn't know how to close them, so you shouldn't be prospecting. Now at this point, you are certainly ready to start talking to some people and start prospecting. I'm going to have a guest trainer. You guys are in for a treat for in this module and this module alone. I have a guest trainer that I'm going to bring on the line with you guys, and you're going to be pretty impressed. I know I am. This is someone that I've been watching for years and been just enamored with for years on their skill and how they do everything. So I'm going to have them on here. They're going to show you some really powerful things, because when you go out there and prospect online, offline, in fact, this trainer is specifically going to talk about Facebook, but what they're covering can be applied online, offline. It can be applied to anything, okay? And they're gonna cover how to divert pitchmen and flip them into being interested in your product. Is that a cool topic, or is that a cool topic? Have you seen people cover that before? I haven't. I haven't seen people cover that, at least sufficiently, but it's going to be covered tonight in full detail. I'm going to unveil probably the most powerful concept to date. Perhaps questioning velocity is up there with this too, but test closing, one of the most powerful concepts you can possibly master, and just, you guys are absolutely going to love that. I am going to go back into some objection handling. If you notice, almost every module I've covered a little bit of objection handling, but more importantly, what I've done throughout all of these modules is I've built into you mechanisms so you'll actually get less objections. You understand that? Do you know if you follow the training in these 4 modules, you'll actually see less objections? Why? Because you're letting them do more of the talking. You're letting them sell themselves. And if they are doing more of the talking, are they going to raise less objections? Of course they are. They're going to raise less objections. So simply by following the training in these modules, you're going to get less objections. But I am going to go into some objection handling that will help you in the case that you do get those objections. The bonus tonight, perhaps the most profitable one, the visioning one, that was pretty powerful, I guess. But building your empire, this is really the long-term deal. This is hopefully why you're really doing this thing, is not just to sponsor a few people, but to actually build a massive passive income, a residual monster that won't quit whether you do or not, and something that, an absolute empire. One of my good friends, Dave, out of Sacramento, this guy left, or I shouldn't say left, but he stopped working his company 22 years ago and still makes over $10,000 a month. Now, I've left a lot of jobs. They just stopped paying me. This guy, he stopped working his business 22 years ago. So did he build an empire? Absolutely. And I've actually interviewed Dave. I've spent a lot of time with him. I've actually stayed at his house multiple times, and I'm about to again here this month, actually. And this is something that it's the bigger picture thing that I want you guys to focus on. And so throughout this module, like I do every module, there are certain slides where I fully believe, I fully attest to that slide is worth the entire cost of the series. And so I certainly don't encourage you to go to sleep during any slides, but were you to, then the ones that have the green dollar signs, well, at least you got your, your return on your investment of buying this series. And so let's talk about prospecting. Number one, you are ready for this now. You are absolutely ready to prospect, because here's one of the reasons people have problems with prospecting, or that they are fearful of prospecting, and that is they're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of what questions the person is going to ask. They're afraid of what objections they're going to throw. They're afraid of what they're going to say. And when you're more in control, which you are now simply from being on this module and understanding terms such as questioning velocity, such as mirroring and matching, pacing and leading, now that you're much more equipped and more confident in yourself and better postured, you're ready to prospect. A lot of the fear that you had before module number one is actually gone now, because you're simply more equipped. It's kind of like, you may talk to people that have a fear of speaking unless they really know the topic. Well, guess what? You really know the topic now of human psychology. You know what people are going to say. You know how to draw out of them their wants, needs, and desires. So you're absolutely ready for prospecting now. And also, those of you who are members of Lead System Pro, if you want a pretty killer webinar that I did, that is in the back office there. It's 10 prospecting tips to get 50 leads per day. That is a free download for you as an MLSP member. I would encourage you to download that, follow it, follow the tips. I'm not going to be repeating on this module the things that I've already said in that module. So if you want a mere 50 leads per day and 10 different ways to do that, then I would highly encourage you to download that system funnel. Okay. Now I am going to cover some things tonight that I didn't cover in that system funnel, but that is something that you do have ready access to, and I would highly encourage you to check it out. Do not forget your questioning velocity when you're prospecting. Now, I've mentioned this multiple times because it's quite simply it's one of my favorite tactics, and that is when you're asking, don't be afraid to ask a question and then follow it right up with another question. Okay, and I'm actually detail this for you. I'm going to show you an actual example. You want to connect, build rapport with prospects, and I'm going to share with you how to do that. And here's the bottom line. If you need to make money, prospecting needs to be where you spend the largest percentage of your time. Absolutely, without a doubt. I love one thing that Mark Yarnell says. Mark Yarnell, gentleman, made over $30 million in network marketing industry. He says that if you want to get to $100,000 a month in 12 months, you have to talk to 30 people a day, 5 days a week, and at the end of 1 month you'll have 1 leader, and at the end of 12 months you'll have 12 leaders, and you'll be making $100,000 a month. Now, most people, they don't have the gumption, I'll call it, the gumption, the chutzpah, whatever you want to call it, to talk to 30 people a day, 5 times a week. But whether you do or not, if you need to make money, this needs to be the largest percentage of your time. Let me give you an example. If you're doing online marketing and but you really need to make money, then I would encourage you to spend less than 25% of your time creating passive marketing, such as videos, blogs, articles, etc., reading, watching webinars, ebooks, etc., and 75% or more prospecting. And prospecting is connecting with another human being that you have a name and a face to. That could be online or offline. You can build this, like I said in the last module, you can build this online or offline. You just can't build it without the telephone. Telephone is a required tool in this industry. If you're scared of the telephone, if you refuse to use the telephone, then this, I don't know why you bought this series, to be honest. You have to get better on the telephone, and you have to embrace the telephone if you want to be a master recruiter. And that is the case with every single master recruiter in this industry. They did use either Skype or the telephone pretty extensively. All right, so I think I hammered that point home, didn't I? And so prospecting mastery, use their environment. And this is whether they're online or offline. Their shirt, hat, the way they talk, location where they are, what groups they're in, if it's on Facebook, and you want to create an initial question. I'll tell you, and here's a really, really powerful offline attraction marketing tactic that I stumbled on last week. You ready for this? I've never heard anyone say this, but when I say it, you're going to say, oh yeah, that makes sense. I live in Southwest Florida, and a few years back, I had some real estate partners of mine that lived in Morgantown, West Virginia. And so I went up there to visit them, hung out with them. Great guys, love them to death, close friends of mine. And so on the last day that I was there, they bought me all kinds of mountaineer paraphernalia, hats, sweaters, t-shirts, license plate, scarf. I mean, they really went a little overboard, right? But they bought me a ton of WVU, West Virginia University gear. All right. So cool, great, fantastic. I appreciated it. I'll get to my point here in a second. So last week, I'm usually either traveling or if I'm in my area, I kind of hang at home and just kind of chill. I don't go out and about necessarily that much, but I decided, I was going to go out and about, and so I wanted to get some stuff from Costco, and I stopped by. I had to ship a couple things, so I went to the post office box, and I was just out and about, and I happened to throw on a West Virginia University T-shirt, one that they got me. Well, I went into Costco. I had two people look at that shirt and say, "Oh my God, are you from West Virginia?" They came to me, they rushed over to me to talk to me about West Virginia, where they were from, da 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 da. And guess what I did? Well, what any prospector would do, I got their information. I talked to them a little bit. I said, yeah, I explained the situation. Yeah, my buddies live up there. They went to West Virginia. Da, do, 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 do. And well, hey, and I'm gonna share with you the tactic that I actually use here in a second. But I did something to get their contact information. And I currently have them checking out some presentations. We'll see. I don't know if they're gonna join or buy anything, right? But that is something. And then I went to the post office. I had a guy there ask me about it. He's like, "Oh man, West Virginia. I went to West Virginia." And I'm in Florida, wearing a West Virginia shirt, and in a probably, I don't know, 45-minute, hour exposure to the outside world, I had 3 people ask me. So if you want to have people strike up conversations with you, wear a popular college paraphernalia, hat, shirt, whatever, that is not your local team. And make up a story, okay? Make it up or have a great story. Say you have a friend that goes there and let them draw the conclusion that they bought it for you, whatever, okay? But, that is a way. It's a really weird way. Because here's what some people do. When they're offline, they'll wear, "Ask me how I make money from home." That's clearly a sales message. Not too many people are actually going to ask you about that, okay? I'm not saying not to ever wear it. Could you get someone to ask you? You could. There's zero resistance, which you'll find every good marketer, they go for low resistance marketing. They want people to have as little resistance as possible to get them to talk to them, to get them to buy from them, to get them to trust them, to like them, whatever, right? And so think about it wherever you are in the country. Think about wearing opposing college teams. That probably sounds crazy, doesn't it? But hey, are you here to make money in this industry, or are you here to be loyal to that, to that team that doesn't pay you to wear their jersey. Okay, so when you are online or offline and you're prospecting, back to my point here, I got a little sidetracked, but I did want to share that with you. Use their environment. See, do they have a logo on their shirt? Can you see a name badge? What is the deal? If they're on Facebook, do they have a dog? Do they have a cat? Do they have kids? Did they just recently go to Disney World? Use something to create some kind of initial question. Hey, I saw you went to Disney World. I love Disney World. Did you go with your family? Do you get to go often? Hey, I saw that you're wearing a Yankees hat. Oh man, I hate the Yankees. Go Red Sox. Whatever, right? Use their environment to create some kind of initial question, online or offline. And, again, I see you. I see you like the Yankees. I see you, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. Create some kind of initial question. And don't forget your training in mirror and matching. This, completely plays out in this scenario. And then I'm going to teach you, this is actually how I got their information. And it's how I get people's information all the time. All the time I get this. And I call it the afterthought and run. All right, you ready for this? Keep in mind, got the green dollar signs here. If you just get this one slide, then in my opinion, you will reap the rewards of this entire course just in this one slide. This is my favorite approach when it comes to offline. This is an offline approach, but you can adapt it to a degree to online. Online's actually, in my opinion, a little bit easier because you got a safety zone there. You're not right in their face, you're not right in front of them. But I wanted to come up and create a way to talk to people offline that didn't make me feel sleazy. Okay? I don't want to be the sleazy sales guy. I don't want to be the hard pitch salesman. And I'll tell you, I've told you this over and over. The number one mistake that network marketers make is they say too much. That's why I love this approach, and I love teaching this approach because it works. Okay, so here we go. So after you build rapport, after you say, hey, I see you like the Yankees, I see you work for Office Depot, I see that you're in real estate, I see that ba-ba-da-ba-doo, whatever, okay? And then you say this, after maybe a couple interactions between between each other, hey, I have to jump on a call, and just throwing this out there, but would you be open to a side project that doesn't interfere with what you're currently doing? Okay, now you may have heard me use this term before. Just throwing it out there, but would you be open to a side project that doesn't interfere with what you're currently doing? Here's what I want to prevent you from doing. I want to prevent you from talking too much, which is the number one mistake network marketers make. They say too much, okay? And so you start off this statement. Hey, in fact, you could even be finishing the conversation and almost walking away or something, and kind of as an afterthought, hey, you know what? I have to jump on this call, but I'm just throwing it out there, but would you be open to a side project that doesn't interfere with what you're currently doing? Pretty powerful, okay? Now, if you don't say that jump on a call, they're going to say, well, what is it? And I had someone ask me, they're like, well, Ray, what if you're at a soccer game and you're standing right next to the parent and you're going to be there for 3 hours? Okay, how do I get away from them? Could you have to jump on a call at that point? Of course you could. They have no idea, right? You could go over on, down the sideline a little bit, hold the phone up to your head, and not have to talk to them. Does that make sense? I want you guys to really understand that if you are talking to a lot of people and you're not sponsoring them, it's because you're saying too much. You're absolutely saying too much. Now, even as you master questioning velocity and master finding out their wants, needs, and desires, you want to really reduce the amount of time you're talking to them, especially in an offline, cold kind of environment. Okay? So if, this comes after rapport building. Don't just walk up to someone, hey, I have to jump on a call, just throwing this out there. You don't just walk up to somebody, right? You build some rapport first. Now, if they respond to that question in a positive fashion, here's what you say. You ready for this? Now, what most network marketers do, number one, most network marketers won't ever talk to someone offline. But if they do, they get really excited if they respond positively. I want you to be more intelligent than that. Okay? And so, If you say this, hey, I have to jump on a call, just throwing it out there, would you be open to a side project that doesn't interfere with what you're currently doing? They say, well, yeah, maybe, what is it? Well, again, I got to jump on this call, but just curious, why are you open? A powerful sentence could be, just curious, has anything recently changed in your life that has you open to making some extra money? Hit them with a second question. Again, I apologize, but I do have to jump on this call. But before I do, I'm just curious, why are you open to a side project? Do you have some extra time? Are you looking for extra money? Or what's the reason? So powerful. So powerful. Why? Because you are not selling your product. And I want to get that out of your head. You're not selling your product. You're solving a problem. A problem could be that there is too big of a gap between them and pleasure. A problem could be there is too much pain in their life. For example, this week I wrote a blog on how I've been able to spend more time with my kids. That was a problem. Problem. I'm unable to spend more time with my family. Solution, network marketing, right? And so, make sure you don't want to forget that beginning. And some of you, I know that you think you're the best salesman in the world and you can talk up a storm, and that's exactly why you're not getting more signups. You're saying too much. So, I have to jump on a call, just throwing this out there, but would you be open to a side project that doesn't interfere with what you're currently doing? Oh, you would? Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I do have to jump on this call. I apologize, but I'm just curious. Why are you open? Are you actually looking to make extra money, or you have extra time, or what was the reason that you're actually open? And see, don't say interested. I'm saying open. Everyone wants to be open. Not everyone is interested. So don't say, would you be interested in a side project? I used to teach that. And then I realized how much more effective open is to interested. And so don't say, got to jump on this call, but curious why you're interested. They're not interested yet. They have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And so ask them, just curious, why, I got to jump on this call, just curious, why are you open? Why'd you say that? And let them talk. And then say, okay, cool. Well, hey, give me your information, give me your name and email and your phone number, and I'll get in contact with you. I'm real busy. You always want to be busy. I'm real busy, but tell you what, let me get in contact with you either tomorrow or perhaps the next day. Okay? You're not hitting them with a sales message the very first time you see them, no matter where they are, the grocery store, or the soccer field, whatever, right? So is that pretty powerful? Is that a little bit different way to prospect offline? Now, what if they, let's run worst case scenario, Ray. Let's say, hey, I have to jump on a call, just throwing it out there. Would you be open to a side project doesn't interfere with what you're currently doing? And let's say they say, is this network marketing? Is this network marketing? Right? Have you ever heard that? Has anyone ever said that to you? And don't they always say it like that? My response to that is if they're that negative, I'll say, well, actually it is, but I'm not sure it's a fit for you. But hey, it was good chatting with you. Got to jump on this call. I'll catch you later. All right? Now, some people will say, oh, that's where you do this objection handler, Ray. You know what? Do we really want that much stress in our lives to deal with such negative baloney? Not me. If someone is uber negative to me, I'm not going to sit there and try to explain my way out of it. I'm just going to say, cool, not for you. Hey, I got to go. And that's why, perhaps that's why my life is not that stressful. And we don't want a life that's that stressful, in my opinion. A lot of times, if you do that takeaway on them, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, well, what is it? Well, what is it? And then you have the power. You've just taken the power back. Very powerful. All right. I am going to bring on my special guest trainer. She is the #1 recruiter, female recruiter, I should say. She's the #1 female recruiter in her primary company. And there's a lot of females in her company. She has personally recruited over 50 people from Facebook that she did not know. Is that someone that you could learn from? She's actually recruited more people off of Facebook than I have. So she may just take this over and run the whole thing. She may just boot me out of here. And she is a fast rising star in My Lead System Pro. And best of all, she's my fiance, soon to be wife, Jessica Peretti, soon to be Higdon. I'm going to turn this over to my lovely, lovely lady, Jessica.
Okay, here we go. I think I got these on here. Can everybody hear me? All right, I'm going to go right into this, and I'm going to be really short and sweet here so that we can get this back to Ray. And all my slides should have little green dollar signs on them because they're so awesome. but I'll bypass those because these are really, really important things that you guys should be learning. And like Ray said, not many people teach this, and it's really exciting because I know how many people per day probably pitch you guys, and this is exactly why I wanted to find out how to really turn this around. And this is for people that are pitching you, whether that's online, offline. Specifically here, I'm going to give you examples of Facebook pitchmen. But this is for people that are pitching you and you really want to turn it around because most of us just like to ignore them or pretend like they're not there. So this is what you need to learn, the characteristics that you need to have when somebody's pitching you. And I'm going to, since my examples are from Facebook, I'm going to give those to you as if you're talking to somebody online. But these work offline as well, like Ray said. So you want to be of help to them. So if somebody's pitching you, you want to make sure that you're somebody who is helping them, who understands what their problem is. Because let's assume that somebody is a Ray Higdon. Do you think that they would be pitching you on Facebook? Absolutely not. So you want to become that authority figure, and that authority figure would never pitch you online or offline really like some of these people do. So you want to figure out what their problem is, like I mentioned, when they're pitching you, because if they're pitching you, they're most likely not somebody that has that posture that you want to have if you're going to sign a bunch of people. So when you're talking to somebody, A, you need to become that authority figure. B, you need to figure out what their problem is. And C, remember that there's somebody who probably has a problem with their current company that you are the one who needs to fix. And we'll get into that more with these examples. So I'm having problems with my computer here. So you want to keep them open-minded and make sure that you create doubt in their mind about where they currently are with their company. So when you're talking to them and you figure out what their problem is, you become that authority figure in their eyes because you're helping them. You want to make sure that when you're talking to them, you keep them open-minded and you create doubt in their mind. And it's not manipulative, like a lot of people think that if you create doubt in their mind about their current company or what they're doing, it might be a little manipulative. But if you're helping them and solving a void or a gap that they currently aren't solving themselves, you're really becoming that person that they can follow and that leader that they can look up to. So here's an example that I wanted to give you guys. And the computer's working well, that's good. Here's an example that I wanted to give you guys, and I call this diverting the pitchmen. This is an example on Facebook that recently I got, and this guy was totally pitching me hardcore. And you can read this a little bit. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but he basically says, "Hey Jessica, I don't know you, but pitch, 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 pitch," right? So most of us would ignore him or block him or unfriend them because this is just not how we learn and do things, and I'm sure that Ray's taught you this. But if somebody does this to you, I want you guys to realize that this is a huge opportunity, whether it's online or offline, because this means that they haven't been trained properly. Because like I said, a Ray Higdon or somebody like that really knows what they're doing wouldn't do this. They don't have to do that. They have the right posture and the right presence, and they don't have to go pitching people that they don't even know. So if somebody pitches you, this is somebody that could turn into a perfect prospect for you and your business. So he says, it's an amazing system, simple to follow, blah, 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 blah. And so I want you guys to pay close attention to exactly what I say to him to turn him around. So this is a slide that would really have those dollar signs on them that Ray's talking about, right? So when he says that, I say, hey, you know what? It's nice to connect with you. But I have a question for you. How is this tactic on Facebook working for you? Just curious. Have an awesome Monday. So I wasn't rude, I wasn't mean, but again, I'm becoming that authority figure. I'm becoming that person that they can follow and learn from, and I'm turning it around in that I'm creating a little doubt in their mind about what they're doing because obviously he hasn't been trained properly. And as somebody who's in network marketing and as somebody who wants to help people, it's your job, it's your duty to become that person that can help these master pitchmen that pitch people every single day and are ruining their reputation, you know, little by little. So I say, just curious, have an awesome Monday. I'm not rude, but I ask him, how is this working for you? And what he says is, and I've gotten dozens and dozens of these messages, and what he says is basically, it's not working very well. And I've watched some of your stuff and I've looked at your profile and I'm really interested in what you have to say because what I'm doing isn't working and I really, really want you to help me. So boom, you've got him, he is now wondering what you're doing differently, how you get more leads, blah, 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 and why you're an authority figure in his eyes. So he goes on again, and I say, I'd be happy to hear more about your business, just because these are people they don't really know any other way to promote their business. So I tell him I'd be happy to hear more about your business, just because I want to learn more about what he's doing and how I can help him exactly. So I tell him I was just curious about your approach. Basically, tell him that I'm really not interested in, his business, but I'm interested in helping him. And then, which this is where you can bring MLSP into this, guys. MLSP is super, super easy to promote to these people. If you're not bringing up MLSP to the people that pitch you, after you've built some rapport, like Ray talked about, there's no difference between online and offline. After you've built some rapport, you can bring MLSP in here and really, really make it happen. So, have you done any internet marketing? I specialize in network marketing, and if that's what you're referring to, I'd be happy to give you some tips. So, AKA, I'd be happy to hear more about your business to kind of help you, and I can give you some more tips with your internet marketing. So already he's following me, he's looking at what I'm doing, he's happy to hear my tips. But again, now I give this example because he's a really, really good one because he pitched me about 20 million times. So, because he didn't know any better. And so I really want you guys to see that this does work whether you're doing online or offline. So he then goes to pitch me a lot on his business, even more, giving me a million different bullet points about why his company is the best and why I should join him and yada, yada, yada. So from there, this is what I say. Now, you don't want to dismiss these people because, again, as I mentioned again, they really don't know any other way. So you seem very passionate about what you do. That's very important. I was just really trying to improve your marketing technique a little bit. So again, instilling that doubt. P90X is an awesome system. I love it. I actually own it. It's just I'm not into the health and fitness thing anymore for a business. And this is just me, this is generic. It works with anything. If it was technology, you could say something like, I'm not into, the technology thing. It's just not for me. So that they understand that you're really not interested in their business, but you are interested in helping them. So if you want some tips on internet marketing or anything like that, I'd be happy to share that with you one more time. And congratulations on losing weight. You're awesome. So I continue to build that relationship and asking him questions. You really want to keep in mind that you still want to ask those questions, whether it's online, offline. You want to keep asking them so that you get what their problem is so you can be the one to solve it. And that's really important. So we go on a little bit to create our relationship, and I go on to ask him I go on to tell him that the corporate and field competition was too much for me, but I definitely appreciate his time. And then I pitch him MLSP. So again, like I said to you guys before, MLSP is super easy to pitch here because these people that are pitching you day in and day out, which I know that we get annoyed, and I know that sometimes it can be overbearing, but they don't know what they're doing, and if we can help them with a system like MLSP, how great would that be? And then maybe eventually we can back end them into our primary business. So I pitch them MLSP. while continuing the relationship. He joined MLSP, and here's what happened. He asked me about my primary company. I got him on the phone and I signed him up. So the reason he asked me about my primary company is number one, because I built a relationship with him. Number two, because I presented myself as an authority figure and I presented myself as someone that could solve his problems. And number three, I created a solution for him to really take his business to the next level. And that's what you guys want to do, and created a little doubt in what he was already doing because it obviously wasn't working. So I just want you guys to know that he is now one of my best reps that I have, and he has over 30 people on his team and has become a really great friend. So basically, what you guys need to understand is this is not difficult. It's really simple, but it's going to take some time to develop these skills of learning to be the authority figure and figuring out their problems by asking those questions. So there's no set script of how you need to do it, but just go in there and really figure out what these people need in their life, and you will turn them around. I promise you, because these people don't have the mentorship that you possess and the leadership that you have to utilize, and they really need that. So help them out. Number one, you'll make a really great friend, and number two, you might have some more people that join your downline. So that is really how you divert the pitchman, and I'm going to hand it back over to Ray here, and he will continue with your prospecting bootcamp.
All right, boy, is she awesome or what? And there are two reasons why I wanted Jessica to go through that training. Number one, for the obvious, the training, because bottom line is, especially online, you are going to be pitched from a lot of people. And you can either be frustrated and cry to mommy about it, or you can learn how to better handle it. Now, number two, the second reason I wanted Jessica to do that training is I want you to realize, are you a pitchman? Are you one of the people that she talks about? And if you are, do you see how better to be? How to be a little bit better at that. So awesome job, Jessica. And let's go ahead and move on to test closing. This, and she is absolutely right. I forgot to include the green dollar signs because there's no doubt that her stuff was extremely valuable. And my apologies. I'm probably going to hear it after this recording. But, her stuff is definitely worth the entire cost of the series because, quite frankly, I've never seen someone cover so eloquently with exact details and screenshots of how to divert a pitchman, flip them into your primary company, and have them build a huge team. Pretty darn cool. So let's talk about test closing. And before I get into the mechanics of a test close, this is such a comfort zone. This is so comfy. This is so warm and cozy. For those of you who maybe haven't had massive sponsoring success, boy is this awesome. And so here's a sample mechanic of a test close. In your opinion, do you feel? In your opinion, do you think? In your opinion, do you believe this would help blank? At this point, now, do you walk up to somebody and do a test close that you don't know? Of course not. At this point, you have determined their wants, needs, desires, their pleasures, their pain. You have determined what they actually want in their life. And it's not that they just want your product, right? They don't just want your product. They want something in their life. They want more money, more freedom, more time with their family. They want maybe more vacations. Maybe they want more excitement. There's a lot of performers out there that they just want to perform. Maybe they want recognition, right? And so, in your opinion, do you feel this would help blank? In your opinion, do you feel this would help blank? In your opinion, do you think this would help blank? In your opinion, do you believe this would help blank? Okay? Very, very powerful. Very powerful. You can get that. And so, a rookie closer would do a presentation and maybe say, so, are you ready to join? Well, that's a hard close. That's certainly not a test close. And so after a presentation, maybe you say, before the presentation, you mentioned that you'd like to make some extra money. In your opinion, do you feel that this would help you make some extra money? And do you know if they say yes to that, then you move into the close. Then you actually move forward. You've just gotten them to take a baby step. You've just gotten them to take a baby step. Very, very powerful. And ask them, hey, what would that be worth to you? If you say, in your opinion, do you feel this would help blank, and what would that be worth to you? Are you just saying that, or do you really believe that? Whew. Do you see how you're building the conviction in others? Do you see how different this is than anyone else in network marketing does it? People ask, why do so many people struggle in network marketing? It's because they're not trained right. Would you agree with that? They're just not trained right. What would this be worth to you? If you're saying that this would help you in X, what would that be worth to you? It'd be worth $10,000. Now, come on. Are you just saying that, or do you really believe that? And they're going to sell you on how much it's worth to them. Isn't that powerful? Isn't that a whole lot better than getting to the end of the close and they say, oh, it's so expensive. Oh, I don't know about that. Are you just saying that, or do you really believe that it's worth that amount of money that you just told me? Very powerful. Now, how about this? If you were to join now, and remember last module we talked about embedded commands. If you were to join now, what would be the best benefit to you joining? Is that a golden statement right there? I mean, I got so many dollar signs all over that. If you were to join now, what would be the best benefit to you joining? You see, that's still a test close. Do you see that? That's not, hey, are you ready to join now? That's a hard close. Hey, would you like to jump on board? That's a hard close. This is a test close. If you were to join now, just curious, but if you were to join now, what would be the best benefit to you joining? Whew, that's some power right there. And so here's some objection handling. We're jumping right into objection handling. We got that test close. You guys absolutely love that stuff. I love the test close, okay? Objection handling. And this works on every possible objection. Now, let me just preface this. And as I've built into you posture over these last 4 modules, I've built into you posture. You're not taking crap from people. You're not letting them steal your dreams. You're not letting them steal your power. And so I always preface when I talk about objections, if they're nasty about it, then I'm going to do a little bit of a takeaway. If they're nasty, is this network marketing? Well, yes, it is. Why? Are you someone that's even open to making some extra money? See how that works? Or I may just not talk to them, depending on how nasty they are. If they're real nasty, I don't even want to talk to them. I won't even answer their question. I'll be like, yeah, it is, but hey, catch you later. I got to jump on this call. I'm out of here. See ya. Right? And so here's some tactics for you for objection handling. I'm actually going to cover the two of, I should say. One, I'm going to cover the most common objection you will ever hear in network marketing. That's in the next slide or so. But I want to give you some universal kind of ways to handle it. Number 1, repeat the objection into a question. Let me give you an example. I just don't believe, let's see. I just don't think it's worth it. You don't think it's worth it? See, that's a question. It's not, you don't think it's worth it? I'm not being rude, right? Don't be rude. At no point should we be rude, actually, right? Repeat the objection, turn it into a question. Because you can answer, you can't answer objections, but you can answer questions. You don't think it's worth it? Question. And then here's another way. I'm sure you have a reason for saying that, and if you don't mind me asking, what's the reason? Do you see how either of those can be used in any objections you ever hear? Very, very powerful. And then here's a test close. Suppose I was able to satisfy that concern. In your opinion, do you feel you would want to move forward? Now, number 1, there is an embedded command in there. You would want to move forward, right? So that's an embedded command and a test close. Suppose I was able to satisfy that concern, in your opinion, do you feel you would want to move forward? And how about this one? And this is, again, we're kind of cross-referencing objection handling with test closing, but let me ask you a question. So they say an objection to you. They say, I just don't think it's worth it. Or I think it's too expensive. Or I don't think this thing's going to make any money. Let me ask you a question. In spite of your initial concern of it not being worth it, isn't the real question that is it possible for you to get more benefits than what you are investing? See, then you turn that right around into a question. Very, very powerful. This slide right here, extremely powerful. These test close interwoven with objection handling, very, very powerful for you. So let's talk about one of my favorites. I don't have any money. This is the number one objection you're going to run into. And it's also the biggest lie. It's the absolute biggest lie. In most cases, this is simply not the case. Of an adult that doesn't actually have the money to purchase this. And the difference is they don't have the extra money, or they don't believe that they have the extra money just sitting around on the couch, sitting around on a table to put into this. So it is very rarely, okay, when I started my current primary company and became the number one income earner, I was in foreclosure, okay? I was in foreclosure. I was considering bankruptcy. I was late on all my bills. I had my girlfriend, my now fiance, paying my utilities bills. I came up with the money, right? So that's why I just don't believe people. And so it is very rarely the case that they actually don't have money. And I want you to think about this. When do we really want something? And maybe it makes logical sense, maybe it doesn't. When do we really want something, but we just can't come up with the money to get it? It's pretty rare, pretty rare. And a lot of times the purchase doesn't make any sense, but it's really rare for us not to be able to put our heads together and come up with a way to get the money. So here's some options for you. Oh, first of all, most cases, when they tell you it's no money, they believe that's a bulletproof argument. So it's real comfy for someone to say, I just don't got the money. And they see more hurt in buying than pleasure. They see the loss of money as a greater concern than the possibility of gain. Let me say that again. They see the loss of money as a larger focus than the possibility of gain or pleasure. Now, this is really good. So if they say I don't have the money, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and, okay, don't say but. Don't say but, because it completely negates whatever you just said. So the rookie network marketer will say, I appreciate that, but, well, you don't appreciate it. So don't say but. I appreciate that, and in spite of not having money, isn't the real question, how can you start enjoying the training and benefits now without suffering any longer? Now, you can use this against them. You can use this objection against them. Because if they say they don't have extra money, we can assume they're suffering. They're suffering in some way. If you're an adult and you can't come up with a few $100 to join something that you actually want to, then I'm going to assume you have some level of suffering. Now, if we get to this scenario, and let me give you a way to help you guys. I know some people that they will tell their friends, or they'll tell people that they're in a new business and they'd love for them to check it out, and that person will say, well, hey, how much is it? That is not a question you should answer exactly. Okay? Let me say that again. If someone asks you before they've seen a presentation or been to an event or at least have some information that they've gone through, if they ask you how much it is, you do not give them a dollar figure. Here is what you say. Because it's true, you don't want everyone to lie, but here's what you say. So if someone asks me, well, Ray, okay, how much is it to join? I say, you know what? There's actually multiple options. There's multiple options. I would encourage you to watch the presentation, and there's a chance that it won't cost you anything. Now, isn't that true? If they decide not to join, does it cost them anything? No, it does not. But if I say, oh, it's $500, they're going to say, oh my God, I don't have $500. I don't have an extra $500 laying around, Ray. And then they won't even watch that presentation. So if someone asks you, how much is it before they've seen a presentation, don't you dare give them a dollar figure, and I don't care if it's $5. Say, you know what, there's multiple options. Check out the presentation, because there's a chance that it may not cost you anything. It may not even be a fit for you. But I'd feel more comfortable with you watching the presentation. Okay? All right. Now back to the objection. I appreciate, oh, you don't have any money? You know what? I appreciate that. And, in spite of not having money, isn't the real question, how can you start enjoying the training and benefits now without suffering any longer? It's pretty good, right? Now here's another one. Now I like this one probably even more, actually. I think this is actually a better one. Now, the power of this question. You don't have any money? Well, let me ask you this. If you had worked out the money, what would have been the biggest factor that helped you come up with the money? Is that good or what? If you had worked out the money, what would have been the biggest factor that helped you come up with the money? Now, you're doing a couple things there. Number one, let me go back to this. Let's break this thing down. If you had worked out the money, so what have you just done with that statement right there? You've placed the pain in the past, worked out. We're assuming you're already past that. Even though you just told it to me 4 seconds ago, it's already in the past. What would have been, still in the past, what would have been the biggest factor that helped you come up with the money? That's also an embedded command. Come up with the money. Guys, is that golden or what? Why do I not have green dollar signs on this one? There's several on here that need green dollar signs, and this is definitely one of them. It's the number one objection you're going to hear. You're going to hear people say, I don't got the money, because they feel it's a bulletproof objection. Where can you possibly go if they tell you they don't have the money? Here's where you can possibly go. Well, let me ask you this. If you had worked out the money, just curious, what would have been the biggest factor that helped you come up with the money? And you know what will happen is they are forced to go into their head and think. They're forced to go into their head and think of scenarios where they could have come, well, I guess I could have dipped into my savings. Oh, okay, great. Well, I guess I could have sold something. Oh, fantastic. Well, I guess they're actually going to come up with scenarios to answer your question. They're going to give you details on how serious they are, how you can proceed, and I'm telling you right now, money is rarely the actual problem. Too expensive? I love this one. I appreciate that, and you know what? It brings up a question. Could you possibly benefit more from our plan despite your initial concern on price? Despite your initial concern on price. You've already placed it in the past. I appreciate, oh, it's too expensive? Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that. And, not but. It's not I appreciate that, but it brings up a question. It's I appreciate that, and it brings up a question. Could you possibly benefit more from our plan despite your initial concern on price? Very, very powerful. Very powerful. And so, you guys, this was a power-packed module. We talked about prospecting. We talked about, we had the lovely Jessica talk about diverting pitchmen. I covered test closing, one of my favorite topics, covered some objection handling. Now I'm going to talk about building your empire. And I hope, like I said before, I hope that you're here to actually build an empire. Not just sponsor a couple people, not just make a few sales, but actually build an empire. So, what is an empire? In my opinion, in this industry, empires contain multiple communities across geography, across multiple cities, states, counties, countries, continents. Empires contain multiple communities across the land, period. Right? And you want to focus on getting better at getting value and information out. Get better. Stop being the one-man show. Stop being the entity of yourself. Start getting better at getting information out, getting your value out, and really paying attention to the growth of your team as you continue to grow it, focusing on your leaders, focusing on helping those leaders be leaders. I saw my good friend Jake, he wrote something on his Facebook the other day. He said, leaders create other leaders, not followers. That is huge. Leaders create other leaders, not followers. So this is not just about your focusing of being a leader. It is about focusing on being that leader. That's a given, but also developing leaders. Focus on getting better at getting value and information out, being a trainer, being a teacher, and be very critical of your time with your team and reps. Create reusable training and resources. It's hilarious to me at this point when I bring on a new leader. When I bring on, and that's anyone that I bring on board my personal team, when I bring on somebody, they're going to ask me a set of questions. I can almost guarantee what questions they're going to ask me. Guess what? I've already created training for their exact question. Right? If I hear a question from my team more than 3 times, I create a resource for it. Why? Because if it's a question for them, it's a question for other people. And I'm very critical of my time. I do not have the same conversation more than 2 or 3 times. Does that make sense? You see, you have to lay out a game plan that will allow you. It's just like that visioning process. You have to lay out a groundwork that is going to allow you to handle a large team. Do you know if you only have 2 people on your team and your time is maxed out because you're spending every waking minute with them, do you realize you literally can't build a larger team because you don't have a vacuum? You don't have time in your life for more people. You have to be critical of your time. I'm not saying blow people off. I'm not saying not to mentor them or coach them or spend time with them. I'm not saying that at all. But just don't have repeated conversations. Don't have, don't think of yourself as the person that has to do everything live. Okay? Create training that is reusable, that is accessible 24 hours a day. Personally, I have a team training page that answers 90% of any possible question that anyone could possibly have when they join my team. 90%. What does that mean? That allows me time freedom to focus on getting better at getting value and information out, to go out, do the income earning activities. It allows me because I am very critical of my time. People call me and they say, hey, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're really busy. I'm already good at my time. You don't have to worry about my time. I'm very critical of my time and I'm good with it. And so when people ask me a question that I already have in a reusable training, I point them to the training, I point them to the resource. If they refuse to use that training resource, then they don't respect me and I don't spend time on them. Very critical of your time. Be that. Get in with the upper people in your company. They need to know who you are. But don't be weird about it. Don't be weird about it. Don't make crazy promises or challenge them without warrant. It's kind of strange to me, but I've had people call me and be like, hey, I know you're the #1 income earner now, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to beat you. And I'm just like, okay, great. Less talk, more do. Go take more action. Be Be the someone that lets your actions talk for you. Okay? Start, and start that way. See, the problem with talking smack or making promises or challenging people is, number one, people, and this is a sales strategy that I used to teach people that would sell advertising door to door, business door to door, and that is people don't like to kick puppies. People don't like to kick puppies. And so if you want the least amount of help, then go around challenging everyone and promising what you're going to do. If you want the most amount of help, then be a student. Ask them, say, hey, I just want to, respect your time, but I just want to ask you, is there any advice you have for me? I've gone through your training and do. Be respectful. Don't challenge or make crazy promises to them. But you want not only the leaders, but also the corporate people. I'll tell you, I always make good friends with assistants to the owners, with the people that run customer service. I make good friends with all those people because you have no idea what decisions go on behind closed doors, and people ask, what do you think of this person? And if they don't know you, well, then that's not a good thing. You want people to know you. They need to know who you are, but again, don't get weird, okay? Now I probably should have had that as the very first bullet and then had the rest there, but this is about building a long-term empire, not being a small, minuscule, mediocre team, but actually building an empire. So I want to give you some homework. I know this is the last module, and I know that I'm not going to be here tomorrow to check your homework on you or yell at you or anything, but I want to give you some homework, and I want you to get into the practice of giving yourself homework. One thing that I do is when I go to an event or I attend a webinar or I read a book or I read an whatever, anything where I'm studying or attempting to get education out of something, then I give myself homework. I give myself a to-do list of things that I either need to test, that I need to change, that I need to take action on, etc. And so here's some homework for you. Practice test closing in 3 different scenarios. And you can do this on anything, okay? If you have kids, do it on your kids. In your opinion, do you feel, right? Do you feel like Italian food would satisfy your appetite tonight? Right? Whatever. Get used to being better at test closing. It takes away the awkwardness. It takes away the awkwardness. If you have perhaps you have a couple options in your company to join. In your opinion, do you feel like the executive package or the accelerator package would be a smarter decision for you to make? Do you see that's a test close? Do you see that I didn't say, hey, are you going to buy these things? I'm saying, no, in your opinion, do you feel like the executive package or the accelerator package is a smarter decision for you to make? That's a powerful test close. Okay? Pick 4 people to have fun with that pitch you their business. 4 people. Now this one's going to be pretty darn easy. Okay? But I want you to have fun. It's so funny to me. I know people that prospect on Facebook and then they give me feedback. Ray, everyone's pitching me. Everyone's trying to sell me something. And I say, oh, you mean while you're trying to sell them? Hello. Come on, get with it. Have fun. I'm telling you right now that there's a lot of people leaving a lot of money on the table because you get dissuaded and you get, turn chicken or whatever when someone pitches you something. Find 3 people, and this is also an easy homework. Find 3 people to tell you they don't have the money and just practice. Just practice with them. Use the techniques and the tactics and the verbiage that I gave you. I gave you word for word, different scripts, 2 different scripts that you can use for people that tell you don't have the money. Very powerful scripts. These things work, guys. And I want you to really work on envisioning and owning your empire. Perhaps that means pulling up a small map of where you have people in your team, or maybe it's where there are teams in your company but you don't have people there yet. Would it be more powerful to prospect people in an area where there are meetings going on? Absolutely. Does that mean you have to be in that area? No, it does not. Do you understand what I mean? I love prospecting in cities where I know my company has different teams because I can plug them right into events. And if you can plug people into events, you have a much greater chance of them staying and actually duplicating. So I want you to really own that. And so in this, I always give you guys a little quote. This is something I threw out on Facebook today. And this is something we talked about. I think we talked about this in module perhaps number 2. There are many hidden reasons that people struggle to make money. A deadly one is money acceptance. If you don't think you are highly valuable, why would anyone give you money? Now I'm going to expand on this. When I put this on my Facebook, the second person to comment said, well, Ray, if you already believe you're highly valuable, why would you need the money? That is a dangerous, dangerous thought. Dangerous. Money does not change you, nor is it evil. Money is simply a magnifier. If you are someone that understand that you are highly valuable and that you are on this planet to impact and help others, then more money means you can do that on a grander scale. It is not, and that kind of thought, the whole thought of, we're trained that money is hard to make, money doesn't grow on trees, that and some people, they work their, 40 or 50-hour job to make a little bit of money, and then they find out that there are people, there are goofballs like myself that, work from home and make a whole bunch of money, and they just think, what, that just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem right to make that much money for that little work. It just doesn't seem right, right? That's a low money acceptance. You want to be very, very careful with that kind of attitude toward money. Money is simply a reflection of how much value you are putting out in the marketplace. And if you're putting out a lot, you have to have a lot of money. You have to make a lot of money. It's impossible. They are one and the same. Your results, your current bank account results, are directly reflective of how much value you have put into the marketplace, and then of course how you've managed that money. And so I want you to know that you deserve a great life. I want you to know you deserve to have the feeling of helping large quantities of other people. I don't believe you can live a fulfilling life without helping other people. You deserve to experience the richness that this world offers to those that have that courage, that have the courage to get out of their comfort zone. I just want to really, really thank you for your attention, your time, and I wish you so many massive, massive successes to you on your fantastic journey. And I just want to say congratulations on completing the course. This is Ray Higdon. I wish you so much luck, so much fortune, so much awesome experiences in your life. And I just want to say thank you so much. I hope at some point perhaps we get to meet each other, hang out with each other, and have some fun together. So go out there. Make it an awesome, awesome day, an awesome week, an awesome month, an awesome year, an awesome life. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.